top of the evening to you, poopshoot.edu. I actually just recorded a video for all of this stuff, and it wasn't recording, so I'm doing this again. So if I'm going through it like super fast, it's because I'm pissed off. But anyways, I just realized I had a bunch of stuff to go over because Christmas is crazy around here, and a bunch of stuff built up. I didn't even realize it. You know, I work for the most part during the Christmas holidays. Well, it seems almost everybody in the universe is off, and so, you know, I'm trying to be places and decorate, and do stuff and whatever, and it's just too much. So I actually started taking down Christmas stuff tonight, and it felt really good. So it's nice because like this is the furthest we'll be from the next Christmas right now, so it's always a good time of year. But yeah, I had a bunch of stuff that I did over Christmas, and I just never got a chance to review it because it was so much stuff and it was so busy. So we're going to start, and I'm just going to lean over here to grab it because I already threw it away when I thought I recorded this video. First up, Magic Misfits, the second story. In this book, the Magic Misfits are having their usual secret meetings about being magical, and summer has just hit Mineral Wells, so they're all excited for that. But Layla is actually having these flashback dreams of when she was a kid and at the orphanage when Mr. Vernon found her, and about this mysterious key that she still doesn't know what it's for, that was left in her bassinet when she was dropped at the orphanage as a young child. But that's neither here nor there at this point. The kids are having fun practicing their skills and hanging out until one day a mysterious lady named Sandra Santos shows up at the magic shop and claims that she is a psychic. Layla seems to be really intrigued with her, whereas the other kids are like, psychic, they're a little dubious. But then suddenly Mr. Vernon comes down and he's like, Sandra Santos. Turns out she is a friend of Mr. Vernon from when they were both kids in the Emerald Ring together, which was their little group of magical friends. So they end up having a dinner party, and the kids get to know her, and but at the same time there's some suspicious behavior from her, so they're like, what is going on here? One day at the Grand Oak Resort, where Layla's other dad works as a chef, they start hearing these rumors about this abandoned, closed-up hotel wing that's apparently haunted. That wing of the hotel has been boarded up for years, but they've never heard of these haunting rumors before. But then Sandra is on site at the time and magically, psychically exorcises the wing of the hotel and gets all the spirits out. So the kids are like, what is her deal? And with her performance, with everybody watching, the Grand Oak staff say, you should do the main show on Saturday night, do your psychic show. So then Sandra's like, yeah. And then she's like, Layla, you're going to be my opening act, doing all your escape things. So Layla's pumped, but also nervous, but the show goes off without a hitch. She's great. Her friends are great and help her out. And but afterwards, during Sandra's set, she brings up an older couple onto the stage, and it is revealed, dun dun dun, that they are Layla's birth parents. So then, like, Layla's like, what? And then the audience is like, what? And then the whole night ends in this chaotic, mysterious, suspenseful event. The next day, Mr. Vernon is called to a lawyer's office because these people apparently want to work out some sort of a custody arrangement with Layla. But then they get there and they're like, something's off here. And so then the rest of the book is just them figuring out what's going on, and then this chase and the revealing of the enemies and what's truly going on behind this whole scheme here. So I won't spoil it, but it is pretty cool. It's a very... Neil Patrick Harris writes this. Neil Poon Handler from Harold and Kumar. That's how I like to refer to him. And I find it interesting to read books that celebrities write, because it's always so cool. It makes you feel like shit, really, because, you know, you see like a guy like him who can, you know, act, sing, dance, be funny, write books, and it's like, I can't do any of those things, not even moderately well, you know, but he can do all of them, right? It's kind of, it pisses you off, but it's also pretty cool at the same time to read a book from a guy like him. So Really cool, lighthearted, fun series, but also with some consequences. That's what I like about young adult fiction. It's got a little bit of everything. Anyways, next up, bargain table at Indigo. DC Comics Super Heroines top 100 greatest moments, something like that. I love the bargain table at Indigo. You can find so many good finds there. This one was only $10 when normally it would be like what, at least 40 or more. This book glosses over what they've chosen as the 100 greatest moments that females have inspired in the DC Comics universe. Goes back as far as I think the 1940s, maybe up until current times. Most of the characters in it are heroes, but then there's some that are kind of more on the fence, like Catwoman and stuff like that. So, but it goes through the 100 moments, and some of the bigger entries are from the more popular characters who have more of a history and have done more of the greatest moments, like Wonder Woman, Supergirl, that sort of thing. And then there's other characters that I didn't know at all before, so that it was nice to be introduced to them. And then there was my favorite part, or my favorite entry, I guess, was learning that Catwoman, Harley Quinn, and Poison Ivy had, in one series, had this pact between the three of them where they looked out for each other, even though they were not always sharing the same ideals and goals and stuff like that. So it was kind of like a girls' club sort of thing. So that was a cool storyline to read. Probably my favorite one in the book. And then within all the descriptions of each event or moment, there's recreations of the actual pages from the comic issues that the moments appeared in. So you can read through the actual comic pages of that instance. So, which is also very cool. So, good book. Next up, the Men in Black International movie. I love Men in Black as a kid, the original movies. I thought it was such a zany and fun kind of action film. The monsters and the creature effects were my favorite part of it. Great actors involved as well, but I thought the diversity of the different types of aliens and creatures they created was just insane. It was so much cool stuff. And it's nice to see the series rebooted because it's always been so neat. At least I had thought it was. So in this one, it starts off with a brief sequence in 2016 when agents T and H, played by Liam Neeson and Chris Hemsworth, both two good reasons to watch this movie, go to the Eiffel Tower in Paris to stop an invasion of an alien race known as the Hive. The two of them do it just with their blasters or whatever they got and become heroes. It then goes back in the past 20 years when a young family one night is their young daughter's up in bed and the parents are downstairs and they hear a funny noise from the house. The dad goes to check it out and comes back with a look on his face like, I don't even know what that is. A few minutes later, the men in black show up and give them the neuralizer. They forget everything except their daughter, who's watching out the window at this scene unfold. The neuralizer has no effect on her, so she remembers all of this, and she meets the little alien, who is super cute, and she helps him escape into the night. Back to current times. This girl is obsessed with the Men in Black. She has applied to the CIA, the FBI, all sorts of agencies to try and get to the Men in Black. During her interviews and stuff, she hints like, I know you guys got a secret alien wing and I want into that, and they all brand her as delusional. So she takes matters into her own hands, scans some activity, and then follows the Men in Black to their sanctuary. She infiltrates it, but eventually is discovered, but talks her way out of it, and soon enough they find out that, you know what, this chick knows what she's doing, let's recruit her. So she ends up becoming a trainee known as Agent M, and soon enough is whisked off to the London branch to do her training, where she meets T, and then she also meets Agent H, who comes waltzing in late for a meeting. After the meeting, she's like, Agent M approaches H and finagles her way onto his next mission. His next mission is to take care of an important alien who's stopping by Earth on his way to another planet for some important event. H and this alien have a history together. They like each other, so they go out to a nightclub and do some partying. M tags along with H. But soon these two aliens that are made of like energy show up and poison this guy that H is trying to protect. And H just thinks he's had too much to drink and sends him on his way. This alien is attacked by these two energy beings on the way, though, and so H and M have to intervene and attack these aliens and defend their friend against them. But he eventually perishes, though, and as he's dying, he gives Agent M a little crystal, and she's like, "Why'd you give this to me and not your buddy Agent H?" And he's like, "He's changed." So then the rest of the movie is just this kind of mysterious sequence of events as H&M go to Marrakesh following a lead, and then eventually to Naples. They run into many interesting characters, and they learn that there's a mole in Men in Black, but they don't know who it is, and some people think it's them, so then they're hunted, and so it's this kind of mysterious end to the movie with lots of action, lots of fighting, and lots of hilarity, of course. So nice to see this series brought back. I hope they do another one. I don't know. Movies are so hard now. Like if you don't make a certain number of millions, it's like no, they don't even consider a sequel, right? So, and the way people are now, it's like they don't like good shit. They only like crappy stuff. They rate all the really good movies crappy and all this shit great. So it's bizarre. But anyways, that's just my opinion. Next up, I don't have a thing for this because we watched it on demand. Wonder Park, the animated movie from a few years back or whatever it was. I had wanted to see it when it came out because it looked neat. It takes place in small town USA. A young girl named June and her mother are having the time of their lives, imagining this fantastical place called Wonderland, a theme park that is run by this animal crew, including Peanut the monkey, who leads them all, Boomer the bear, Greta the boar, a couple of beavers, I forget their names, and then Steve the porcupine. And as they imagine this wonderland, they actually build it with craft materials, and it starts to spread throughout their house and take everything over. And also as they get ideas, June's mom whispers it into the ear of her stuffed monkey, who is Peanut. This continues on for a while until one day June's mom comes home and announces that she is super sick and needs to go away for some treatment to try and get her better. So June is devastated, and not long after her mom leaves, June, she changes. She puts Wonder Park away in storage. She withdraws from her friends. Normally such a fun-loving, adventurous child, she becomes safe and overly cautious. And her dad, seeing all this happen, is like, you know what, June, you're going to go to math camp with all your friends. You're going to stop thinking about your mom. You're going to go socialize. You're going to have some fun. So she's on the bus. She's having fun. And then she starts thinking about her dad. Will he be able to get along without her? Or will he burn the house down? You know, so then she's like, Banky, which is her friend, she's like, you got to help me get off of this. So they engineer a way for the bus to stop so she can sneak away. And as she's doing so, she has to walk a long way home, and there's some woods nearby, and she's drawn to these woods. And as she infiltrates them a little further, she finds a roller coaster cart that has a logo on from Wonderland. Curious. So she gets in this little roller coaster car and is whisked into Wonderland. It's real. Wonder Park is real. And as she arrives there, though, she realizes it's different from the way she imagined it. All of her animal friends that she created are running from a horde of tiny zombie chimpanzees who are tearing apart the park and feeding it to the darkness, a cloud of swirling destruction in the sky. She introduces herself to these animals and tries to explain that, you know, her and her mom created this place. She knows it. And they don't believe her at first, but as they run for their lives and share more information and get to know each other, they soon realize she's not lying. She did create Wonderland, and she also knows how to fix it, of course. And as they continue on in their quest to try and save Wonderland, June realizes that the darkness overhead showed up when she put Wonder Park away, when she gave up on it because of her mom's condition. And and that's the reason for Wonderland being in such trouble. So she is even more determined to save the park, realizing that she is the cause of all this destruction. So the rest of the movie is just them finding a way to do it, and in the end, I'm gonna spoil it for you. They save Wonderland. June's mom comes home healthy, and June becomes the girl she was, and Wonder Park is back alive. A great movie. It got slagged in the reviews, which I don't get this stuff, but I thought it had a really good message about the things life can throw at you, and as bad as things can sometimes be, and sometimes they won't end well. Sometimes the person who gets sick won't come back. You can't let that stuff change who you are and make you stop living yourself, right? So some really cool lessons and ideas, and a really interesting way of bringing them to life with this park, and how her emotions affected the park, the imagined park, and stuff like that. So very neat movie. Next up, Lenticular. It's Shazam. I was a big fan of Shazam as a kid, and I totally forgot about it for a long time. So it was cool to see them do a big movie of it. As it opens up, it's the 70s or 80s maybe. Oh, it's after midnight. Don't feed me like a gremlin. This young kid named Thad is in a car with his dad and older brother, and they're going to visit their grandpa for Christmas. They're treating him like shit. They're mean to him. He's shaking his magic 8-ball, and they're teasing him about that. Suddenly the car starts to freeze over, and his dad and his brother disappear, and Thad's like, what the hell? Car comes to a stop. He gets out. He's in this weird cave with a wizened old wizard in it, and the wizard's like, are you true of heart? I need to give someone my power. This wizard is the last of his kind, and he's the only one keeping the 7 deadly sins at bay, which are represented in the hall by these statues that you can tell are alive inside and they want out. The wizard determines Thad is not the right choice, though, and so he sends him back to where he was. And as he comes to in the car again, he starts freaking out about what just happened and causes an accident. Forward ahead to present time Philadelphia, and a foster child named Billy Batson has escaped his foster care, and he's out on the streets looking for his birth mother, who lost him. Lost him as a child and never found him for some reason. So he's determined to find his mother. He's tracked down himself, though, and brought back to foster care, and he's put in a new home that is actually run by 2 former foster kids themselves who did their fair share of running away when they were younger. And in this house they have 5 other kids that they're caring for, including young Darla, older Mary, Pedro, Freddie, and one more, and I can't remember who it is. Anyways, Eugene. Freddie is the one who takes the biggest liking to Billy, and he's kind of this nerdy kid who walks with a cane. He's got a bit of a disability, and Billy settles in, but he's like, I'm not going to be here long. And they go to school. Freddie gets bullied. Billy jumps in, helps him out, but then the bullies chase Billy, so then Billy escapes into the subways, and as he finds refuge on a subway car, the same thing that happened to Thad happens to him. Stuff freezes over, and he's like, what? And then as he gets out, he's in this cave. Just before this had happened, Thad, who is now older, has spent his entire life trying to find this wizard again. He's done all this research of other people that have had these experiences, and he's finally sorted it out. So just before the wizard drew Billy to him, Thad went and attacked the wizard and took the Eye of Sin from its storage thing, and unleashed these 7 deadly sins, which he then became like a vessel for. So back to Billy. He approaches the wizard, and the wizard's like, you know what, I'm not sure if you're the right one, if you're pure of heart enough, but I got no more options. It's too late. So Billy places 2 hands on the wizard's shaft and says, Shazam! and all that power from the wizard is transferred into Billy. He turns into this hulking adult who's wearing a goofy costume, and he's got all sorts of powers. So he goes back to his home and gets Freddy to help him out, and he's like, what the hell? So they're like both amazed by what's happened. They try and figure out all the different powers he's got and whatever, but most importantly, they try and figure out, how do we get you back into your boy form? So as they're figuring all this out, stuff happens, and eventually though it goes to Billy's head, and he starts to like use his superpowers to as a novelty and to get money and stuff like that, and Freddy starts to become disillusioned with Billy and what he's doing. So Billy's kind of off on his own when one day Thad attacks him. He's got the power of these 7 deadly sins, but he also wants the power of Shazam. So he goes after Billy, and Billy, who has experienced defending people and being a superhero a bit during all this, is kind of upset when he can't stop Thad. This is his first real challenge. So he has to kind of sort himself out, get help from his new family, and in the end take down this evil character. So very cool movie, very funny, very out of the blue movie. Like, Star Wars is going to be awesome. The Marvel movies are going to be really good. But Shazam kind of came out of nowhere, and it was really, really good. It was super funny, not like Deadpool dirty funny, just like it's more of like a family movie, but it's super funny, lots of great action, and yeah, I would recommend it for everybody. It's nice to see DC get a win when they've had such, other than the Batman series, I think Wonder Woman did okay, but compared to Marvel, they just can't seem to keep get those levels, right? So I think Shazam did okay, but it's either way, it's a really good movie. So I think they did a good job there, and hopefully they can continue to roll stuff like this out. I think they do have a sequel plan for this, like for 2022 or something, but yeah, it was fantastic. 2 more things to go. First up, tiny cartridge, Jurassic Park for the Game Gear. I found a used Game Gear at GameCycle last summer. Finally got around to playing some games on it. Jurassic Park follows kind of the rough story of the original movie. Like, this team of experts is brought in to safety the park, basically, but all hell breaks loose. So you are able to go to 4 different zones on the park, each one represented by a certain dinosaur. There's Velociraptor, Triceratops, Brachiosaur, and Pteranodon, and each level begins with a short vehicle level. So there's a Jurassic Park Jeep bouncing along, and it's being attacked by little dinosaurs. You have to shoot them and keep the Jeep alive as long as you can. And as you shoot them, power-ups sometimes come out, so you can gain continues, hit points, and stuff like that. Once that's out of the way, you get into the meat and potatoes of the level, where you're just a dude walking along, and you got to take out dinosaurs, avoid any pitfalls. Sometimes you're inside buildings, a lot of the time you're outside in the jungle, and then as you make your way through the level, at the end you'll face the boss, which is the dinosaur represented for that area of the park. And yeah, once you complete all 4 levels, you have beaten the game. Now, it's not like a win-win, because the T-Rex, you never get to face it, and it's still out there causing havoc. So you basically, it's like, oh, we escaped with our lives, and we are not certifying your park. And that's how that game kind of ends. Last up, I don't have a case for this because it was a PS Plus free download a number of months ago. Sonic Mania. Sonic Mania was released for the 25th anniversary of the Sonic the Hedgehog series, and it was a throwback game that is identical to like how the first few games played back on the Sega Genesis. A very retro 8 or 16-bit game, I guess. It retreads some of the original levels from those games, like Green Hill Zone, which is the very first zone of the very first game, is in this game, along with a few others. And but they're not carbon copies of those levels. They fiddle around with them and add stuff and change things. So, I'm not sure how many zones there are. I think there's like between 8 and 12. I don't remember exactly how many there were, but it's a fairly lengthy game, and each zone is divided up into 2 acts. And at the end of the second act, you meet that zone's boss and destroy it before moving on to the next zone. And in the end, you take down Eggman once more, or Dr. Robotnik. I'm not sure what Eggman means, but to beat the game. And it's a classic Sonic storyline. You are trying to track down Robotnik. I think that's all there is for Sonic, anyways. that's always the struggle against Dr. Robotnik. It actually, at the start of the game, there's like Sonic and Tails go off in their biplane to investigate this weird event at this island, and then Robotnik attacks them. So, and then you got to take down all of his robot bosses and stuff like that before you get to him. So, very cool game. I'm a big fan of retro games, like games on the NES, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis are all my favorites of all time. I like those old games a lot better than I like most new games. New games are great, but there's nothing like the originals. They're so much fun, and they're so, I don't know, hard and uncomplicated, whereas new games are sometimes easy or way too hard, and well, they're complicated, but they're just, I don't know, it's not the same. And you get all this like leveling up stuff, like Fortnite. I'm playing Fortnite, and you have so many things that you get, resources and stuff to create weapons and traps and stuff, and I have no idea what to do. There's too much stuff. It's too much, and it's like, what? How the hell? What hell do I do here? And the thing doesn't come with an instruction booklet. It doesn't say like, oh, do this to do that. Like, you got to figure it all out for yourself. It's like, I'm not a 12-year-old with nothing to do. Like, I got to do stuff. I don't have time to be diddling around with this game and figuring it out on my own, right? So I like a little more straightforward kind of stuff, and that's what I find about those old games, is that there's no friggin' around. It's there's no cutscenes, there's no movies. It's just the game starts at the press of a button, you play it until you're done, and you press the button and it's off, and just do it again when you want to, right? So so that it's a little off topic there, but that's why I like the Sonic Mania. When I was trying to figure out which PS Plus game to play, that one was definitely near the top of my list when I was looking at what games were the ones I had to choose from. So fantastic game, lots of fun. And that's all I got for now. I was low battery, so hopefully this is still recording, but because then if not, I'll have to do this a third freaking time. But I'll be back in the near future with more stuff, and until then, stay warm or stay cool, depending on where you are. Have a great night.